it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today is a fun one and this one is really easy, but it kind of looks like it might be complicated. So we are going to start off. There are a couple of things that make life easier for this one, and this is some rectangle stacking dies. So I have the Hero Arts Infinity rectangle stacking dies. I am taking one of them with my card base that is just a bit smaller. I mean, you can see how much smaller it is, but this is completely up to you, how wide you would like your outside border to be. We are going to make a completely see-through card. Now, I know that you've got questions, but I promise you to stick around to the end and you'll see how this one goes. Now, usually when you are running your die through the die cut machine, you want to open your card up so it only cuts the top layer. For this one, I ran it through so it cut both the front and the back, so I kept my card closed. Now I have got one piece of paper, just a singular piece of cardstock, and I have run it through with that lined up behind the card base. This is so that it leaves an indent as to where I need the die to go, because basically what we need to create is this frame here, so front and back on a card base, and then I'm going to take two pieces of cardstock, the exact same size as the card base, and I'm going to line this one up with the dent that we made when we ran it through behind the card base. So I know exactly where everything is lined up and it's going to be perfect, and I'm going to put two of these through at the same time again so that we can cut these in exactly the same place. I feel like I'm not good at explaining this, but it's so simple. So you've got two pieces of cardstock which are the same size as your card base, and then you just run the rectangle through on both of those, as well as the front and the back of your card base. Now I have popped out all of those center pieces and I will save those for just a minute because of course we are going to need somewhere to write on this card. So these are the center pieces. Now of course you could use anything to cut this out because this is a little bit of a waste, but I'm going to take a smaller rectangle die from the stacking set and I'm going to cut out four exactly the same rectangles. Now I actually used a different piece of paper because, a different piece of cardstock because I didn't want to waste so much of those centers. They can be used for something else. So then this comes to the decorating part of the front of our card. Now this is the Teal and Mango rub-on set. A lovely subscriber saw how much I loved these and actually sent this set to me, and now I'm going to town because I love the 49 in Market rub-on sets. I think they are such good value for money. It saves me having to do any colouring. I love their longevity. I love how easy they are to use, and I just love their designs. I think that's a really versatile pack. You get 6 sheets in each pack, and there is so much to use. There's not much in there that I consider something that I wouldn't use. So that's how I kind of look at a product. How much of this am I actually going to use? How much of it do I actually like? So this is my kind of style. I'm cutting out one of the flowers, or the little bunches of flowers, I guess, from the front here. Now this is kind of a tealy-ish colour, I guess, the flowers are. So I'm taking one of those rectangles. And I want to do some stamping on it, so I'm going to use the FRANSFORMER birthdays. Now this set here is made specifically so that you can kind of reposition these, and I wanted them for this purpose, so that I can move them around and bend them so that they go around circles. And on the back, coincidentally, is my favourite bird stamp as well from Stampendous, but so I was just having a laugh at that. But I'm really not using these for this purpose today, but I think these are a cool thing, and I really wanted long sentiments for this exact purpose when you need to curve them around something. So as long as I can get multi-uses out of everything, then I am happy, because I'm not using them to curve or bend them today. I really just like the happy birthday font. And so I was trying to match up the best I could. Now this is the best I have, honestly, the best color match that I have. And that's okay, because at this time, this was going to be my background, but things will change in this video. My mind does change. However, if you didn't have a color that you thought matched, you could always just go a contrasting color. For example, an orange or a yellow would look fabulous here in the background if you wanted to bring those colors in too. Now, I'm just using my stamping platform and repeating this step because I have my sticky grid down. It's really easy to see how much I need to move it up each time, and it's relatively, I would say, evenly spaced. Now, here's my panel, and I was going to put my rub-on on. I just didn't have enough faith that this was going to be able to be seen enough. It was sinking into my very dark background too much. Now here I was trying to think, I can make this work. I can make this work, but I can't make this work. So we think of the next option. I'm going to put this down beside me, and I had this little piece of vellum. Honestly, this piece of vellum was sitting beside me from the previous project. I swear this is how most of my ideas come apart. And I was like, okay, we can dull down the background a little bit. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. And then I was like, why not make an endless shaker while I'm at it? But I don't really want it to be a super shaker. Now this is me not measuring things. So I carefully hold it in the middle, roughly, of my piece of vellum. I cut in each little side to the very corner with my Cutter-bee scissors. And then I'm going to take my trimmer, which has a scoring blade in it, and you have to be a little bit gentle with vellum. Don't come in full score with these things, because likely you will crack the vellum and then you'll run into even more problems. So I'm doing this very lightly, no pressure on the scoring blade, and you can just gently see where it has gone there. And then this means I'm able to fold these really gently, and they're going to fold nicely along that line. So far I'm doing well. I'm going to miter the edges just so that they fold in nicely. Then I will add some double-sided adhesive to the insides of all of this. And an endless shaker is just basically where it comes off the edges. So it is not in the middle of the panel. It basically takes up the whole panel. You can do entire card fronts like this. I just really like the look. And I think, as I said, this whole process was a big it evolved along the way when things didn't work out for me, and that's okay. So I'm going to pop in my little piece, my little happy birthday piece, take off 3 of the sides. This leaves me a little pocket. Now I decided that here I would put the rub-on first before I put any contents in the shaker. This just leaves a nice flat surface, and I nearly didn't do this step, but obviously it makes sense. So I pop my little rub-on down in the middle. Now the rub-ons are going to adhere to vellum just as well as they would to paper. In fact, really easy, and they are really solid once they are down. There's no shininess, which I love, coming off the edges, so that's really good. And then all I do is I kind of remove the top layers slowly, and this way, if there's a piece that I have missed, then I can kind of put it back down and just make it go in place. So the little leaf was, I hadn't rubbed it enough, or maybe I hadn't done it at all, and then so I was able to just go over it, and there is a perfect transfer. Now that looks a little bit better. It's definitely standing out from the background much more. I had a little mix of pretty much the right color sequins. Now I must admit that, these aren't super obvious that it's a shaker card, and that's okay. I think it's just another element, and I had fun doing it. So you'll see at the end, I really like it. I'm still glad I did it. Now here's where you just put everything together, and this is just a super simple card. So I have double-sided tape around the entire frame. I'm using the Hero Arts acetate sheets. These ones are really good for die cutting, but we don't need to do that today. These are just really sturdy, and so I have cut these down just roughly to fill my frame. So I will take off one side of the release paper, pop down the acetate, and then I'm going to take one of the frames that we created that's going to be exactly the same size, and I will pop this down using my little method where I pull out the 4 tabs, and this means I can line everything up before I pull out the tabs. And then we have a piece of acetate sandwiched between the card base and then our little frame. So we're going to do this to both sides, and this is going to make our card nice and stable, nice and steady, and essentially we've just replaced paper with the see-through acetate. So I love this idea. This card was so popular. I've actually done one like this on my channel before, a long time ago, and so I've made some of these since, just not filmed them, and I thought it was about time, because this is a very popular card. When we show anybody, or when anybody has seen this one. And as I said, it really doesn't take too many supplies. There's nothing to say that you couldn't do this with circles or stars or hearts or whatever stacking dies you have. I just really like the simplicity of the rectangles, but honestly, anything's going to work. So here is the base to our card, and then the next part is relatively obvious. You can see that the card stands up beautifully. It has the structure of a normal card. Everything is good. Now on the back of all 4 of my panels here, this is where I have put some double-sided tape. Now This is obviously a card where you're probably not going to write all of your life memories. This is one of those cards where there is just that much space to write, and so this is really just a quick little message. I mean, you can write nice and small. There is a decent amount of space to write, don't get me wrong, but I am going to pop this relatively in the center of my frame here. Now, obviously, I'm eyeballing, and I always eyeball the measurements to things if I can. Now I'm taking off the second one and popping this directly on the back. Now, to get everything lined up perfectly, I use this removable adhesive. This is my favorite, always has been, probably always will be. I pop a little bit on the back, then I take off the release paper, then I'm going to close my card up. Now, the reason that I put the all 4 of these panels on is because you can see that double-sided tape through the acetate. So I just like to keep everything really nice and clean. So that's why I have all 4. If that doesn't bother you or you're not worried, then you don't have to put 4 on. You could just put 2, and that gives you a space to write, and it means it is hidden when the card is closed, which I like. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed creating this card. This is a really, really fun one, and truly it is very, very simple. You could just use a pre-made panel to go on the front as well. You don't even have to do your own. So many different options here. If you were inspired by this video, then I would love to see your creations. So you can come over to our Facebook page. It's called Come Crafting with Natasha, and you can post your makes there. You can either find the link to it down below or just search it on Facebook. Other than that, I will have the links to supplies that I've used down in the description box below if they are still available. I also have a few more links down there, like my snail mail. I absolutely love receiving cards and makes from you guys. Thank you so much for putting the time and effort in to send them all this way. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!